Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Well, as many of you know, it is cold outside. Temperatures will remain well below normal for this time of year, with highs this afternoon expected to struggle only in the upper 20s to lower 30s. Not exactly what is expected for mid-December. Usually we're in the upper 30s, lower 40s, sometimes mid-40s over southern New Jersey. Well, we'll be roughly about anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees below that level. So clearly we are definitely experiencing a very cold outbreak of Arctic air. How long will this continue? Well, we'll discuss that later on in the video. Now, for now, we'll continue to have disturbances rotate through the northern Mid-Atlantic. Most locations will remain dry, but where those disturbances develop, well, the snow showers will be rather dynamic and can produce anywhere from a trace to as much as 2 inches of snow. In some cases, like what happened over Long Island yesterday, snowfall amounts could reach 4 inches. That's a rare case, but it's something that you need to keep aware of because these disturbances are poorly forecasted in the model guidance and can cause some surprises. Now let's take a look at the latest water vapor satellite picture, because that low pressure system that's over Colorado is going to cause some problems later on this week. The strong disturbance that is exiting the Rockies will continue to move to the east and eventually will reach the Mid-Atlantic coast by Thursday night. Now this disturbance bears watching on many different fronts. For one, the further north that this disturbance gets on Thursday night, the more likely the pattern is setting up for more significant snow later on in the weekend. I'll get to more of those details in just a moment. But one of the things that I find interesting is that the strength of this disturbance is a little bit stronger than what was expected even on the 0Z model guidance. And it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on as the snowfall, snow shield develops later on this afternoon and evening over the southern plains and then travels across the Mississippi, Tennessee, and Ohio valleys. Now, right now I'm expecting anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of snow, possibly up to 4 inches over extreme southern New Jersey, like Cape May County, something of that nature. But for the most part, this is going to be a light snow event for southern New Jersey, with the potential for some snow showers extending as far north as the Philadelphia metropolitan area and central New Jersey. Those of you in New York City, right now, you're out of the picture as far as this disturbance. Could see a few snow flurries, but nothing of significance. But again, we're going to have to keep an eye on this disturbance because thus far, model guidance has not handled these disturbances very well at all. One of the key things to also point out with this water vapor satellite picture is that there appears to be two separate areas of circulation with the 500 millibar features over the Great Lakes and over New England. That's very important because going forward, that is going to be one of the pieces for a potential major storm this weekend. Let's take a look a little bit further to the west over the Pacific. Now, over the Pacific, one of the things I've been pretty much harping about with this potential storm on Sunday is that first we have to get a handle on the upper level disturbance that is going to develop off the west coast. This upper level low, and a powerful one at that, is going to be in a position to either amplify the ridge over the Rockies or crush it. And as a result, the difference in that obviously is that if the ridge is less amplified, then the whole pattern is more progressive, and therefore the storm is further out into the ocean and doesn't amplify and fully phase until well out into the Atlantic. Of course, if the upper level low is off the west coast and the ridge over the Rockies is able to amplify, then the storm is able to amplify off the east coast, and then you get the result like yesterday morning's GFS run, which produced a major snowstorm. Now, right now, again, I will say that it is foolish to go with either solution right now, no storm or storm, and say it definitively until we get the data to show what exactly is happening with this upper level low off the west coast. Right now, it's in an area where observations are very poor and there's a lot of missing data that's going into the models. So as a result, even a model as great as the European model guidance is showing some errors that I will point out in just a moment. So once we get a handle on exactly how this upper level low develops over the Pacific, Then we can get an idea of the ridge axis over the Rockies, and also the potential for the polar vortex that is sitting over Quebec to split and allow a storm to develop along the east coast. This is the European model guidance for Friday night via the Penn State eWall website. Again, a great website for all your model needs, and it's free, so it's even better. Now, there's a few things that I noticed here on the European model guidance and some of the other models that I found peculiar. One of the most important things is that the disturbance that was over the southern plains that will ignite the potential storm is nowhere to be seen on the 0Z model guidance. This is a huge red flag for anyone that is jumping either way on this model guidance, either from 12Z or from 0Z. What we're basically saying in the model guidance is that the models do not know how strong this disturbance is that's coming into the plains on Friday. And as a result, one suite of model guidance went ultra strong and produced basically a blizzard, and the other model guidance for 0Z basically said, what disturbance? What's reality? Well, I think there will obviously be a disturbance of some kind over the southern plains. It will be stronger than what we're seeing here in the 0Z model guidance from last night. That still doesn't answer whether or not there will be a storm along the east coast, or at least close enough to the east coast to produce a significant snowfall. But clearly what we have here on Friday is the potential for this PV to split. One part moves towards a 50-50 low, and another part sits over the western Great Lakes, and a phase is allowed to develop. And then notice our upper level low of the west coast. Again, the position of this upper level low, and notice this feature that's over northwestern Canada. That's another upper level low. That likely is not going to happen. And that pretty much suppresses the ridge that tries to develop over the west. And so therefore you end up with a progressive solution with everything remaining out into the ocean. When we go a little bit further in time, you can see at the surface that the low pressure system has no choice but to exit to the east. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these maps is to illustrate a point, and that is that anyone that jumps on any model guidance up until now is making an error, because there's clearly some significant errors. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a major snowstorm. I am not saying it's going to be a complete miss. I am saying I simply do not know. There is clearly a storm threat potential for the east coast, but until we get a handle on the upper level low that is sitting off the west coast and the strength of the disturbances moving into the southern plains, we clearly cannot say one way or another whether or not a major storm will occur. Until we get this data, and it's not about model trends, models do not control the weather. Until we get this data, we cannot say definitively which way that this storm will set up. So again, as I've been saying for this entire week and last weekend, wait until Thursday, because by Thursday, that disturbance that will set up the storm will be over the west coast, which means that we'll have much better data on handling exactly what we're dealing with this storm. And further, we'll be well on the way of seeing this upper level low that's sitting over Quebec, whether it'll split and form a 50-50 low and an upper level low over the Great Lakes, or whether it remains consolidated and is forcing this storm out to sea. So we have two moving parts here that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So again, regardless of what the models say for 12Z, which will probably show a blizzard, and then I'll get like 50,000 emails, wait until Thursday 12Z run. That is my suggestion for now. If you're along the coast, be aware that there could be some light snow for Sunday. And if you're in the interior, most likely scattered snow showers. We're going to keep this storm off the coast for now because we are in a La Nina pattern. But again, this forecast is likely to change. How about Christmas? Well, let's talk about that. Looking towards Christmas, we are clearly going to remain in a cold pattern. There will be plenty of cold air in the region. It looks like an upper level low will set up over the Canadian Maritimes, which means there will be a threat for scattered snow showers, but I don't expect any major storms after this Sunday. So it's either this Sunday with major snow, or basically a continuation of the scattered snow shower pattern going into Christmas. Thank you for trusting NYNJPA Weather for your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino.